morning, everybody. How's everybody today? Good deal. My name is Tony Howell. I'm from L.A. That's Lower Alabama. But I do not have an accent. We're tickled to death to have you all with us this morning. Do we have any ex-military personnel here? Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Appreciate your service. We're proud to have you all with us. Everybody just sit back and relax as we make the way around. I'm retired military, Army, 24 years. I was an instructor for 15. I was also a college professor for 10 years. Guess what we're going to have on the way back? A test.
Instructing what?
When y'all were up on the benches up there or inside, did anybody happen to see the lake? Yeah? Actually, you cannot see the lake from the marina. Once we get on the lake, you're not going to be able to see the marina from the lake. So who was the second mate? Yeah, you pick a tree on the way out, help us find our way back, okay? Preferably not a green one. Anyway, this is the most sought after marina on the lake. There's only 3 marinas on this lake. We have one north of us called Leak, one south of us called Signal Mountain, and Cocoa Bay. Now, because of the seclusion from this lake, this is the most sought after marina on the lake. As you walk down the dock, those nice slips on the left and right where those nice boats were, those slips run $2,000. You put your boat into mid-May, take it out in mid-September, and there's a 20-year waiting list for one of those slips. Yeah. The breweries run between $600 and $800, and there's a 10-year waiting list for one of those. The other boats, the other 2 marinas, all are exposed to the main body of the water. We get violent storms that come in here from the north or the west, and those boats get beat up quite a bit, so everyone prefers this marina right here. Now let's find out where everybody's from. Since you know where I'm from. Where are you from, sir?
Colorado Springs.
Colorado.
Amelia Island, Florida.
Florida.
Texas.
Texas. New Hampshire. Cool. Florida. Virginia. I can't hear you. Virginia. Iowa. What? New Jersey. Virginia. Oregon. California. Utah. Chicago. You escaped.
California. Virginia.
Virginia. You forgot where it was? Okay, good.
Ohio.
We're tickled to death to have everybody with us. If anybody would like to go sit out back, feel free to do so now. It's the best seat in the house. And it's good back there, too. Okay. All right, cool. Did the captain tell them that they're not able to come back in once they go outside? He didn't tell them that?
Well, you mentioned the spring on the door.
We got to lock the door on the way out if they get out.
Oh, are you?
Begin to make our way out to the main body of the water. I'd like to tell you what we're going to talk about today. This lake, folks, is a very unusual lake. We do not have lakes like this in Alabama. We have rivers, we have enough to make lakes. This is a natural lake as well as a man-made lake. We're going to talk about those mountains. Those mountains are unique as well. And I'll tell you a little story behind those. We're going to talk about a little foliage, maybe a couple of these trees. That tree right there you see the rock is a very unusual tree. We do not have trees like this in Alabama, and we're going to talk about that tree. It plays a very important part in this park. And we'll talk about it back to the right. Now, as we get ready to make out here into the main body of the water, both this lake is a natural lake as well as a man-made lake. The natural side happened some 200,000 years ago. So we actually had ancient glaciers that settled in here. They were between 2,000 and 3,000 foot thick. They melted over thousands of years and created a lake here of 16,000 acres. That's the natural side. The man-made side actually happened in 1906. The Idaho farmers on the other side of the mountain came over here, got together with the state of Wyoming, and made an agreement. An agreement for this. They were to build a dam at their expense. Whatever the water level was raised by that dam, the Idaho farmers would actually own that amount of water. So in 1906, when they built the first dam, it actually increased the level of the water 39 feet Today, the Idaho farmers actually own the top 39 feet of this lake. Yep. The friends and all, they told them what they had found out here, how they had actually found a series of mountains that jutted straight up out of the water, and there's none like them in the United States other than these. Also, they talked about how they had found an area that stunk real bad, and how they had big mud pots, and hot water was spewing up out of the ground. Well, everybody back east, when they heard that for years and years and years, they thought they had lost their minds, because there is nothing like that east of Mississippi. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. But anyway, that's this mountains right here. Now, every one of these peaks that you see through here actually has a name. The first one you see right there about 2:30 or 3 o'clock your time is called Ranger's Peak. Ranger's Peak. The next one right up here is called Eagle's Rest. Eagle's Rest. The little one right here with a kind of a rounded top to it, the name of that one is Bivouac Peak. Bivouac Peak. And then the one directly in front, anybody know the name of that one? Mount Moran. Who was that named after, sir?
Thomas Moran, the painter.
You're exactly right. You remember, you know his middle initial?
X.
Yeah. That's all right. That's all right. It was named after Thomas E. Moran, and he was a painter. And we'll talk about that as we make the loop around. Mount Moran is 12,605 feet high. It is a technical mountain, meaning you must have a rope and a harness in order to climb it. It's climbed every day in the summer, and I would assume that someone is probably climbing that today. Do we have any climbers in here? You're a climber? Cool. Have you climbed any of the peaks?
The Grand in the south.
Grand in the south. Grand. I've climbed the south and the middle. Yeah, cool. Well, you know what I'm fixing to say. Folks, you do not want to be caught on top of these mountains if thunderstorms are coming in. It's very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. An example of that is this. 2007, my first year here, there were 3 groups of climbers on the Grand. 2 of them were guided groups. One was an individual group. They were at the top waiting their turn to summit, and the storm started coming in from the west. The 2 guided groups knew what was fixing to happen. They got their groups and went down. The other group stayed there because it was an individual group, like me and you decided to climb together. But they just kind of hunkered down there at the top. And when Mother Nature showed up, it struck them with lightning, knocked one of the young men off the mountain. He fell like 5,000 feet and lost his life. You do not want to be caught on top of these mountains if thunderstorms are coming in. It's very sad. I recommend that everyone you summit before lunch and then get back down off the mountain. Yep, because these mountains are non-forgiving. Now, have all of you been listening to the newspapers recently? Okay. If you look to your left and come back to your right, you see that very first peak in the distance up there? The name of that one is called the Teton. We named the boat after that mountain peak. About 6 days ago, there were 3 young ladies climbing that particular peak. There's a technical side and a non-technical. They went up on the non-technical side, but somehow got misdirected. They got around on the technical side and fell. 2 of the young ladies died. One of the young ladies is still in the hospital. These mountains are non-forgiving. You have to know what you're doing, and you have to be extremely careful on these mountains. But that is the Teton right there. Now, the furthest one in the distance, the tallest one that you can see, is actually called the Grand Teton, 13,770, and it's also climbed every day in the summer, and I bet you someone is climbing that one today as well, Grand Teton. Now, that's a little bit about the mountains. And we're going to make our way around the island that you're going to have your breakfast on. And it's the island right here to your left. It's the largest island on the lake. This island is actually about 1.5 miles from north to south, about 1/2 mile east to west, meaning it's probably a little over 1,200 acres. Now, the name of that island is called Elk Island. Can anybody tell me why we might have named that Elk Island? I had a lady tell me last week because of all the moose on there. Yeah. Actually, we have about 100 to 150 elk that stay on this island most of the year. Now, when the migration starts for the elk, they'll actually migrate off, go down to the refuge and spend the winter in the refuge. And then in the spring, they'll actually migrate right back up and right back over to the island. A lot of people ask me, well, how do they do that, Tony? Elk and moose actually have hollow hair. So it's like they've got a gazillion life preservers on. So they think nothing about getting in the water and swimming across to the mainland and going down to the refuge. Right. Now, the reason they want to be on this island is because they feel very safe to raise their children. The majority of the predators in the park are over on the mainland where you came from, are right over there. Folks, that's called the West Bank. That is a sheer wilderness. From this shoreline, about 18 miles to the west, is California. Actually, the gold rush started in Dahlonega, Georgia. Today, you can actually go to Dahlonega, Georgia, and you can pan for gold and you'll find gold. They found gold in 1845 and 1846. And then when the word got out about all the gold that was in California in 49, guess what they did? They all loaded up and came west. And as they came through here, they actually trapped for gold through here, did not find any gold. So they went on to Stutter Mills in California. And as they did, a lot of the mountain men went with them, and a lot of the trappers went with them as well, because they were all seeking their fortune in gold, because beaver sales were down and the styles had changed. So and then this area, as they all went west, this area kind of went dormant again. It did that, and then all of a sudden the Civil War started. And then in 1862, our government actually passed a law. It was called the Homestead Act. And what that was is if you were to come out in this area and live on the land and improve the land, they would actually give you 160 acres. A lot of the farmers in the east came there for, number one, to get the free land, and number two, to be able to make a living out here growing a crop. So they got here, they cleared the land, they planted the crops, and when the first seed popped up, it was already snowing on top of them. They only have 37 frost-free days out here, so they can't grow crops out here. So again, this area kind of went dormant. But as they, the trappers and the mountain men, continued to go east, talking about what they had found out here, how they had found a series of mountains that jutted straight up out of the water, like I told you, and the hot thing pulling up out of the water. Congress had heard that for 50 years, and they decided it was imperative that we send another expedition out here to verify if what they had been hearing for the last 50 years was true or false. It was called the Hayden Expedition. Hour and a half. Old Faithful? How far are they from Old Faithful here? An hour and a half?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. This is the first time you've been in Yellowstone? Yeah?
I grew up in, I was born in
Okay. He took that picture just because you won that award.
He's married to her twin sister.
Oh, really? All right, cool. Did we get everybody in on the back?
Yeah.
Okay. Get everybody in.
That's why you put that there. They have those climbing rangers in that center. They have those climbing rangers. They're in Yosemite also. And they're up there just in case the climbers get in trouble. They stay, I think, in Yosemite for a week or 3 or 4 or 5 days at a time in the mountain.
We were on a trip yesterday, and I was saying they required to climb 4 weeks. So they're actually moving.
That's what they do.
I guess keep in shape.
We were in Yosemite 30 years ago. There was a group climbing El Capitan, and they dropped their gear. Halfway up, they dropped the climbing. And somebody heard them screaming, and one group of rangers came down from the top, another group of rangers came up to the bottom, and they tied them all off and spent the night and watered down the next day. That's those climbing rangers. Yeah, we're